All right, we're back on another Pick'em video. It is Monday, June 22nd in the MLB. We're talking a 13-game slate today. Definitely got some good angles that we're going to attack, talk about the ballpark factors, talk about hitters, talk about streaks, talk about home run plays, and then we'll get into the pitchers, of course. So if that sounds cool, do me a favor, like the video, comment something down below. We have been cruising in the MLB so far. So we'll start with the recap of the last video, which was on Friday, and then we'll get into the plays for today. So quick recap of the last video we talked about, which was on Friday. I'm going to go through this as quick as possible because it's been a few days. Can't fully commit to those weekend uploads just yet, but still trying to do the 5 days a week. And this is probably our worst day so far, but still pretty dang good, especially those home run plays. We were 3 for 6 on home run plays, which is pretty freaking awesome. Caglione, O'Hop, Siri all come through for us. We did have some misses there too. We talked hits and bases. Dudes are just great matchups overall. Lowe, Ozuna, Shaling, Lear, Dingler. I mean, some of these guys went off. A couple of them had doubles, which would be a good bases line. Nick Kurtz and Horitz did not get it done for us. But we also talked pitchers. We did pretty dang good on those pitcher strikeouts too, especially Amai, whatever that guy's name is. 11 Ks in that thing, and his line was really, really low. We talked about a ladder on him, and he obviously showed out. Schlittler, 13 Ks in the night. Scuba had 8. DeGrom with 9, and a couple guys just missed their lines as well. For the hits allowed, we were 2-0 on those. Scooble, we talked about his potential strikeouts, which we did look at, and we also looked at his hits allowed. So kind of a weird non-correlated type of play, but got farther enough in the game where he was giving up some hits, but also had the Ks. And then the pitching outs wasn't amazing. We had McGreevy go 5 innings, which was an under. I think he was under 17.5, which is what we were looking for. Ranger Suarez got way farther into the game than I thought, and then Gibson as well did complete the 5 innings. So we looked at the under 14.5, but pretty solid overall day, and we have been cruising. So hopefully you guys are getting some winners from this, and let's try to do it once again today. So now let's get into the slate for today, and we'll start with the ballpark and game environment factors. The weather and all that kind of stuff goes into this. It's a combined sheet here. So we'll look at Boston and Colorado. You got to look at Coors Field. 11.53 projected runs in this thing. Coors Field gives us a plus 34% chance of some runs, plus 32% home runs, plus 27% doubles and triples, and a plus 14% singles. So this is obviously the best hitting environment on the board. Boston's projected for 6.11 runs versus Ryan Feltner, and Colorado projecting for 5.42 versus Jake Bennett. So definitely one of the clear offensive spots here in a stadium in weather that's going to give us the best spot. Then we'll look at Philly and the Nationals. Nationals Park, 10.68 runs projected. We'll get the plus 8 run percentage. We'll get the plus 15% in home runs, plus 7% doubles and triples. Both sides are definitely capable of getting the offense going. Washington projects a little bit slightly higher in terms of the runs projected, 5.38 runs, while Philly's sitting at 5.3. And guys like James Wood, Bryce Harper, Schwarber, Luis Garcia, all these guys are going to matter for today's matchup. Now, there might be some weather in this game, so that's why it's kind of highlighted in that red font or the red background drop here. So just keep that in mind. A couple games, so there's definitely weather, especially on the East Coast right now, that's building up for these game times. So just keep that in mind for all of these. Then a couple other games to look at. Angel Stadium with Baltimore coming to town, 9.82 projected runs today. Orioles project for 5.85 runs alone versus Samuel Aldeguerri. So the matchup sheet definitely favoring those Oriole bats. Mayo, O'Neill, Gunnar, Taylor Ward, Blaze Alexander, a lot of guys popping up that are good spots today. And then for our under environments, you got to look at Houston and Toronto. Rogers center, 7.32 projected runs today. It's the lowest run total projection for today. Rogers gives minus 6% runs, and both teams not doing too good in terms of their matchups versus pitchers. We got Dylan Cease on the mound as well as Hunter Brown. So could be an under spot, maybe a strikeout spot that we'll mention something later on in the video. We can also look at Tropicana Field for potential under spot, 8.07% projected runs on this thing. Tropicana minus 6% on runs, minus 7% doubles and triples, minus 8% on singles. And Kansas City bats against Drew Rasmussen, not the best in the world here. And then last note here would be Busch Stadium, 8.28 projected runs today for Arizona and St. Louis. Definitely the worst park and weather factor on the slate. Minus 12% runs, minus 21% on home runs. So maybe not the best home run game to attack. Then I like to show guys that are on streaks. I will say a lot of these dudes don't have the best matchup in the world, or there's park factors that aren't really going, towards a good thing for them. But these are just dudes that have been on fire getting hits. Pico Armstrong has a pretty good matchup. The whole team has a pretty good matchup against Senga. Alec Burleson, not too bad. But again, we talked about this being a bad hit, home run environment. So maybe more of a hit environment for someone like Burleson who's been on fire. We can also look at like 2+ bases streaks, dudes that are getting multiple bases in games and they're on streaks with that. I like to show like at least one game break allowed just to kind of give more context on that, or even 2+ games break allowed. And then we can also look at guys that have been doing home runs, getting home runs in a lot of these last few games, at least one home run. And again, you can mess around with the breaks. These are just dudes that have been hitting the ball pretty well. And you can also just go up to see, hey, top performers versus the last 100 pitches they've seen, last 250 hit pitches they've seen. Just gives you a sense of guys that are on fire, because with baseball being a very volatile sport, sometimes you're seeing the ball well, sometimes you're hitting the ball well and good things are happening, and other times you can get in a little bit of a rut. So these are just dudes that are hitting the ball pretty dang well right now. Then just looking at dudes with the most likely chance to get a hit, you see a lot of Boston popping up. So if I'm looking at just hits here, Boston at Coors Field, probably my first stop to look at. Rafaela, Willie Abreu, Mickey Gasper, Duran, Wilson Contreras. A lot of those guys make sense today, and a lot of it has to do with the park factors, to be totally honest, and the high team total, but definitely dudes that are in good spots. And in that same game, we look at Tyler Freeman on the other side of thing. He's got a pretty good hit profile. He's in Coors Field, but a lot of these guys I'm looking at maybe more of hits, runs, and RBIs or bases kind of things than home run plays. Willie Castro, another guy, definitely someone that could be more of a longer shot home run type of dude. Maybe not the best play in the world, but someone you could maybe get some value on, but definitely has a good hit or total bases line, I think, in this one. And again, these are just projected for guys the most likely to get a hit today. Gunnar Henderson popping up on the page, 76.1% chance to get a hit today, 2.19 projected bases. Definitely a Orioles stack opportunity, I think, in this one. Gunnar Henderson specifically does have some home run support too. He's got a great matchup against the pitcher he's facing today. So he's someone I'm definitely wanting to look at here. Luis Garcia, another dude, 74.9% chance to get a hit today, projected for 2.04 bases. He's got a strong, Nationals hit total bases kind of angle here. Washington itself projects for 5.38 runs on the day. Paul Goldschmidt, a dude that he's been on a hit streak, which is great to see. He's got a strong matchup here against a left-handed pitcher. Not the best field factors in the world, but definitely someone you could look at. And then Bryce Harper and James Wood in that Philly versus Washington game, 72.8% chance, 72.7% chance for James Wood. So these dudes are projected for some good bases today. And for these dudes, you can obviously potentially look at some home run value as well. But bases, RBIs, runs for Bryce Harper and James Wood, definitely an angle I wouldn't mind in this one either. Now looking at the most likely 2+ bases guys on today's slate, we already talked about Coors Field. Rafael, Contreras, we talked to Abreu, Freeman, Castro, a lot of these dudes popping up with good value on the board today. We also talked James Wood, Gunnar Henderson, Bryce Harper, some other dudes that aren't, in that Coors Field game. We could look at Shohei Ohtani versus Sebby Matthews. Definitely has a strong hitter profile today. The home run price probably isn't going to be the greatest, but you maybe could look at something like a total bases line. Jackson Chourio as well has a pretty good home run park here. Brewers home run definitely gets a matchup boost. He's going against Brady Singer. Byron Buxton in that Dodgers game as well. Streaks. He's been on fire. He definitely has a good matchup versus his pitcher. He has a power angle. Target field itself doesn't have the best for home runs, but a total bases line could be something you look at. Target field actually a minus 15% on home runs alone, but he is projected for 2.13 bases. And then Kyle Schwarber, definitely more of a home run RBI lean, but again, you got to pay the juice on someone like Kyle Schwarber. Probably the most likely guy to get a home run today in terms of the odds. But again, that price is what it's going to be coming down to. And we will talk home runs here in just a second. But first, let's look at dudes that just have a really good matchup today in terms of their bats. Kobe Mayo, Tyler O'Neill, both popping up on the top of the page here. Mayo himself, one of the best full matchup boosts on the sheet in general. Orioles, like I mentioned, definitely a good stack opportunity. Tyler O'Neill himself, home run RBI angle for sure. One of the better or more probable home run hitters in today's games. Royce Lewis and Byron Buxton for Minnesota Twins. Huge matchup boost for Lewis. Target field definitely hurts home runs, but the individual matchup here against Eric Lauer is very strong for him. Same thing for Byron Buxton. He's got a perfect matchup, textbook matchup against Eric Lauer, plus 30% runs, plus 51% home runs, plus 40% on doubles and triples, minus 36% on Ks in terms of how the guy pitches and how Buxton hits the balls. But he's also got a really good streak going on where he's been on fire. So someone definitely to look at here. And then a couple other Orioles players popping up, Leody Taveras, Taylor Ward, Blaze Alexander. We mentioned this Orioles stack opportunity, and they definitely have a good chance to do so, I do believe. Paul Goldschmidt also popping up. We talked about him, and then Hoskins as well in that Cleveland and the White Sox game. He's got power. He's got an on-base angle for sure. And Rate Field also gives him a plus 7% on home runs as well. But specifically against Anthony K, plus 21% on runs, plus 29% on home runs, plus 36% on walks. So he could be in a chance or in a spot for a good offensive performance as well. And before we jump into the home run section of the video, a couple guys just with historical batting averages and things like that that are showing a good story at least. I use it more as supporting evidence because things can change. This is stuff over the past 3 years. But for guys like Byron Buxton against Eric Lauer, he's done well against him and he's got a good matchup profile and all that kind of stuff against this dude for today. So guys that I would mention here would obviously be Buxton, Yandy against Waka, Mullins against Waka, Brooks Lee against Lauer. Those would be the main dudes that I at least focus on from this sheet. But definitely, something that people like to see. So I like to flash it on the screen for you guys at least. So finally jumping into the home run report here. A lot of the time it comes down to price. Like Kyle Schwarber's always right near the top of the chart in terms of percentage to get a home run. Dude's been hitting home runs left and right all year. But you can see he doesn't have the best matchup here against Griffin. Another guy I've been talking about all video long, Byron Buxton. Plus 320 is where Ballpark Pal has it at in terms of all the stats and everything that go into it. And books are more towards a plus 200, which is kind of a crazy price to pay for someone to get a home run. So maybe like if I'm attacking Byron Buxton, maybe I attack different angles, whether it's, hits, runs, and RBIs or something like that, or maybe even 2+ home runs. Some things like that would be, a chance to potentially get there. But for a lot of these guys, I usually go for the value plays. I do like to show the best guys on the board because these dudes are the best, in terms of percentage to get a home run for a reason. Juan Soto popping up on that page too. His price is pretty much fair, right on the money and where it should be. And he's got a great matchup for today in terms of pitching matchups. But in terms of my value plays, I want to go with Bryce Harper, Nationals Park, plus 15% for home runs. He's got a strong hitter profile today, and it's a decent enough price gap that I think it might be worth it. James Wood, another dude for decent price gap, 25.5% home run probability on the day, 2.25 bases projected for today, 0.88 runs projected for today. So definitely a good value price. And against his matchup, he's looking pretty dang good. Tyler O'Neill, another dude I think we're getting decent value on. The matchup's given him that 25% home run advantage, minus 25% on Ks, and that supports the Orioles stack as well. Jalen Duren, decent price as well. We got Coors Field, Boston project for 6.11 runs, like we've mentioned before. He has good angles on bases, RBIs, and runs and all that kind of stuff, but could be a good look for a home run potential here. Ian Happ, definitely a price gap that I'm looking at that's popping up on the page. Citi Field, not the best from it, but not a perfect one to go to, but definitely good things happening against Senga. Then we got Vargas in that White Sox and Cleveland game going up against Gavin Williams. Definitely more outlier odds here. Ballpark Pal sitting at a plus 372, whereas books are more at like 480 or something like that. So definitely a value play, something you got to look a little bit farther into. Gavin Williams definitely has a good arm. He's a good strikeout pitcher, so maybe that's a little bit more scary. But someone I just want to at least mention here, Blaze Alexander goes right board to that Baltimore Orioles stack opportunity. And some of those guys, when I see a lot of players popping up in home runs, it's trended towards a couple of these guys are getting home runs today. So that's nice to see. The matchup boost here in terms of who he's going against on the pitching side of things, plus 43% home runs, but definitely more of a long shot guy. You're going to get this for like plus 700, plus 800. And then lastly, in that Coors game, once again, TJ Rumfield, more of a longer shot guy, but he's been hitting some home runs lately, and he's got a great matchup against Jake Bennett. And we already talked how good Coors Field is for home runs and everything to happen here. So Rumfield, probably the last dude I'll mention in terms of my value plays. So those are my main home run looks for the day, I would say. Now, Kyle Schwarber, Byron Buxton, these dudes have a really good chance of getting home runs. So maybe there's other ways to attack them, but maybe not the best price for home runs alone today. I do much rather like a Harper or a James Wood in terms of the value that we're getting on the lines. Same thing, I think, with like Shohei Ohtani, Hunter Goodman. These guys, the prices just aren't amazing for me. Can they get home runs? Absolutely. The guy that I would say is like the closest to getting there would be a Juan Soto in terms of the value you're getting on the line. But again, it's not just simply, hey, who's the most likely to get a home run today? Let's attack that. I think it's a lot more about value and stuff like that. And that's why I kind of break it down that way. And if you're not someone that loves home runs specifically, if you want to look at something like a hits, runs, and RBIs, two dudes popping out for me would be James Wood, who I also like kind of for a home run in terms of his value. And then I also like Wilson Contreras if you're going to look at that hits, runs, and RBIs profile. Wood definitely has home run value, I would say. Contreras more of a bases RBI type thing, or runs, hits, runs, and RBIs type of value. in terms of where their lines are at. So I know I spend a lot of time talking about batters, and I always do, and it can be confusing. You got to let me know in the comment section if this is just too much word vomit and you'd rather just see my main plays. I think that it's almost better in baseball to show you all the information, talk through it with you guys, and then have you kind of make those decisions for yourself. But of course, I'm doing the recaps, and it's pretty much, hey, here's all the players I mentioned in terms of their bases, in terms of their home run potential, in terms of the strikeout kind of stuff that we're going to talk about in a second here. But let me know if you're not liking that, and I can maybe go back towards here are the plays I'm going to, even though for baseball, it can be a little bit boring that way, in my opinion. Now let's finally jump into some pitcher props here. Dylan Cease popping up right at the top of the board, 8.53 Ks projected for today. Houston 13th in terms of strikeouts per game. Houston grades poorly versus him, 18.9 or minus 18.9 average run created, plus 62 K boost here for Dylan Cease. So definitely a dude that can get there. Hasn't had less than 5 strikeouts in a game all year. And with them being more middle of the road, definitely a matchup I think he could be able to take advantage of, and we get some good prices on a ladder here. Drew Rasmussen, another guy popping up here. Tampa Bay versus Kansas City. Kansas City not a team that strikes out too much, but it is a spot that I think we're getting this at 5.5 for a lot of books on their normal priced lines. So getting that price when he's projected for 7.51 Ks. Kansas City minus 33% average runs created, plus 45% K boost here for a guy like Rasmussen. So definitely a guy that's in a good spot for where his lines are. I think he could get over that. And again, a lot of these guys are ladder opportunities if you want to do something like that. Looking at Kyle Bradish versus the Angels, we know Angels team that strikes out the most in the entire league, 6.91 projected Ks for Bradish today. So not a line or a number he hits very often, but definitely a spot that he's got an advantage here. And then another quick value search here. Again, Dylan and Drew kind of popping up the page as I think guys that could get some high numbers in Ks today in terms of laddering up their lines. Senga, another dude popping up with value at 4.5, but he's not looked great in the last few matchups. He is capable of striking out teams, even when they don't strike out too much, like he's got going on today in his matchup. But he struck out St. Louis like 9 times earlier on the season. He's just been giving up a lot of hits, a lot of runs in the last few games. Framber Valdez under the 4.5, or sorry, under the 5.5. I think this is a pretty good spot if you want to take the juice on it. I don't think he's getting 6 strikeouts today. I'm thinking more towards 4, to be totally honest. I think you get some plus money at the 4.5 line, but maybe gets to the 5th strikeout. That'd be my view on him. King under the 4.5, you get plus money here. He has not looked good in his last few starts. So against the Braves, could be a good spot in terms of some value. But those are my main guys I'd look at in terms of strikeouts for today. But we do have a decent amount of value popping up. So as I scroll through here, if you see something you like, there's definitely a decent amount of pitching props that are popping out on the page. For hits allowed, we can talk value in a second here, but dudes that might just get batted around a decent amount: Ryan Feltner, the Colorado pitcher against Boston, Samuel Aldeguerri against the Angels, Alan Rangel. A lot of these dudes have high projection in terms of runs for the opposing team. So definitely guys that could get knocked around a little bit, but it does come down to eventually where you're getting this guy's line. Shota Imanaga, another guy against the New York Mets bats, Foster Griffin against Philly bats. These are just offenses that we've talked about a few times throughout the day. But for some guys that have some value, we can look at Michael King, the over 4.5 hits allowed. We just talked about him kind of getting batted around a decent amount recently. Aldeguerri as well over the 4.5. Doesn't usually go very far into games, but if he can get a few innings under his belt, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes over this 4.5 hits allowed line very much at all. Anthony Kay, another dude popping up with some value at the 4.5 line for plus money. These are just dudes that I would be looking at in terms of getting rocked around. But of course, the offensive stacks that we're looking at for like the Orioles, that kind of goes hand in hand right here. But for the other teams, the guys I just mentioned at the top of this thing could be good dudes to look at getting shelled today. And then a quick under here. If Brandon Woodruff ends up starting this game, hasn't started in a while, under 4.5 does look pretty dang good. We're getting decent value if you can find this at minus 125 at the 4.5 line. He's coming back from missing a little bit of time here, but also against the Reds, a team that does not hit very many balls. So could be a good spot for a dude returning here. And then lastly, some pitching out angles. Zebby Matthews over the 16.5. This dude does go very far into games very often, but he's also going against the Dodgers. So maybe some value there, but maybe a little bit more scary. And then Andrew Palante over the 17.5 ounce. I think he could get there today against the Diamondbacks. Not the craziest matchup in the world for him, and a dude that can get far into games. So that'll do it for me in this one. Thank you guys for watching. Like always, hopefully we have another good day in the MLB, and hopefully found you guys some winners. Definitely let me know in the comment section down below if you're like, this is too much words, too much stats. We need a more simple-minded approach to it. Just give us the plays. I like talking about all the stats and all the angles and, running this through my model, seeing Ballpark Pal's model, and kind of using that to our advantage. And it's worked out pretty well for us in terms of like the plays that we're talking about or players, plays we're talking about in the videos. So if you can digest it, it's hopefully a lot of good information, and we've been killing it. So you got to let me know if it's too complicated and things like that, if I'm rambling too much, which I tend to do, because all your feedback helps me, make these videos more digestible and, easier for you guys that are watching it. So I appreciate everyone. Like the video, comment something down below, all your thoughts and everything like that. Appreciate it. No, I have nothing else to say. Oh, subscribe. Bye.